because this Sunday, as world leaders gather to mark 100 years since the end of the First World War, Poland will be celebrating a century of independence and confronting old tensions not left in the past. Now, far-right groups are fighting to participate in the celebrations after Warsaw's mayor canceled their march, citing security concerns. Now, last year, 60,000 people attended an independence march organized by nationalists, some participants chanting calls for a, quote, white Europe and carrying racist, anti-Semitic and Islamophobic banners. Now, the march attracted worldwide media attention. Poland's president has now planned a separate so-called inclusive march, but some members of the country's ruling Law and Justice Party are pushing back, including Secretary of State Jacek Sasin.
To jest ograniczenie prawa do zgromadzenia, no bo można reagować i trzeba reagować w sytuacji, kiedy łamane jest prawo w trakcie manifestacji, ale nie można w ten sposób prewencyjnie ograniczać prawa obywateli do swobodnego manifestowania. No, to się nie mieści w granicach demokratycznego państwa.
All right, well, let's talk about this story. You were watching it very, very closely. Can you tell us what is going on exactly in Poland?
This is a good question. What is going on? It was proclaimed March. This march to celebrate 100th anniversary, but it is traditional every year, 11th of November, such a march used to take place in Warsaw. So learning from the past, quite often it was march used as an occasion to demonstrate very right character. So according to our constitution, and Mr. Sasin is quite right, there is freedom of speech, freedom of demonstration, freedom of using all tools which are allowed, for instance, such a march, to express conviction. However, red lines should be established, so they cannot cross a given limits. And from this point of view, I am very sorry that this banning took place. But there is also another part of or side of this coin. Mayor of Warsaw, big city, having in mind what had place years ago, every year, at least 10 years ago, it's a quite long history. What we could see in this video at the beginning, it means it was a question about safety and security. She was just, mayor was quite right asking, what about safety and security? But she was not only asking, but answering, well, I ban the march. And this is quite a good point for saying it was not so easy, simple situation.
Sure, and there's also that issue of not wanting a repeat of last year. And there was a lot of focus on Poland, on the neo-Nazi, the racist slogans being portrayed. Is this also a question of not wanting to portray Poland in a certain light, image, a reputation?
Well, I would say so. There's been a lot of debate, both around Poland, in Poland, about Poland, and it's probably it's not feeding into a sort of a positive image about Poland. And I think it's unhelpful for the country in general, and it probably was one of the concerns as well. And let's not forget, the country is also gearing up for elections. So it's all part of that as well, obviously.
So there is a conscious effort not to do that. Maybe there's a security aspect of it, but you also think that there's an image and reputation aspect of it.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Well, just on the security aspect of it, a couple of weeks ago, I covered the lesbian and gay and bisexual and transgender conference that was taking place here in Brussels, and I met up with a lot of activists who live in Warsaw, and they said when protests like this take place, they have to barricade their offices because otherwise they will be attacked. And the amount of people who are under attack, even in the city of Warsaw, just because they're a little bit different, especially when protests like this take place, is extremely alarming.
It's alarming, but take a look. This margin is quite narrow in Poland, with extreme right parties, nationalists. Is it always
just extreme right who goes
They
to
are visible and noisy, and they are taking this opportunity to be granted visibility.
What about people who are not extreme, that just want to be celebrating or commemorating?
Oh, you see, this is exactly the question. Because 100th anniversary of regaining our freedom after 123 years of being in, I may say, in slavery, divided between three neighbors. It's a good occasion to say, take a look, we recovered, we are united, one country, we have our good position, being member of the European Union, being member of NATO, we could be proud that everything, I mean, these big political changes, has started in Poland. After Polish changes, free election round table, 3 months later, Berlin Wall collapsed. A year later, Soviet Union disappeared. So this is good occasion to stress we should go together because it's a
But it's being
national,
hijacked, you're saying,
not
by other...
political. Yes, you are right. It has been hijacked by these extreme rights. And right now we are waiting for court decision. The court decision should be made today, 6:30 p.m.
Right.
Whether this march will be allowed or not.
And as somebody who
Just
works in the
quickly,
media, it will be the images, of course, of the far-right protests and the eventual
which
violence,
make it to the rest of the world, absolutely. But what will be interesting to know is exactly, how this is being received, and especially by Polish voices. Our team in the Cube, Alex Morgan, and our team in Lyon are looking at this. The Polish voices, what do they really think of this debate? Alex.
Tessa and team, hello. As you've been saying there, look how divisive a topic this really is, banning this march. Well, very, very quickly, the organiser of the march on his Twitter account tweeted this to say the march will go ahead, announcing a legal appeal, which you're discussing there. Obviously, fighting it, he's live tweeting about the updates of the timings, but very quickly saying this will happen. We will challenge this decision. You'd expect that from the organiser of the march. But I think what is interesting is the number of liberal voices in Poland and elsewhere who specialise in studying Poland have really jumped on this against the ban, if you like, cause. Let's just pull up what Stanley Bill, he's a lecturer at Cambridge University on Polish politics, and he says, well, the standout thing for him is the number of liberal Polish voices pointing out that this ban goes too far. One of those voices he quotes is Paul here, and Paul, just to bring you a translation here, he sort of says that liberal democracy means that you've got to endure the voices of those you do not appreciate. And that's echoed as well by Marcin here, who says even those we like the least, they have civil rights. And in this tweet here, he's saying, obviously, those civil rights mean they should be allowed to march. So you can see it's not just the organisers of the march you'd expect this from, but actually liberal voices in Poland going, hang on, that's a bit much. Also, Stanley Bill, the lecture I started with there, pointing out a bit of a political motivation or a hint at a political motivation in some tweets. There's also that side of this discussion. But let's bring you the other side. It's obviously clear that there are some people who feel very, very strongly. Tom Jones, who has written about Polish dissent and politics in Poland, well, he says, of course, this latest decision is politically motivated, he says, but it's been a long time coming, in his words. He goes on to say, especially since this event has been taking place in a city that has suffered so much from the consequences of hate speech. So, praising the ban, although admittedly questioning why it came to pass. And actually, before the ban was announced, there are people like Helena. She's an academic. She divides her time between Warsaw, London and New York. Well, she tweeted this, a petition which, if you click through the link, it actually says about getting rid of fascism from the streets of Poland. This was obviously before the ban was announced. She was calling on people to sign it, to have the march banned beforehand, to pile pressure on the politicians. So you can see, Tessa, how there are those, obviously, on the liberal left who say, yes, this must go, it's prompting hate speech. But there's also those on the left in Poland, the liberals, saying, no, you can't be banning this march. So it's not just divided right from left, it's divided left from left. It is a divisive topic. So regardless of the motives for the ban, you can certainly see why it's got a lot of people talking.
Indeed, it has. Thank you for that, Alex Morgan. And also because if you look at the images that we saw, they're very powerful and quite scary images that we have seen. Do you think there's a disproportionate focus on the images that we see like that and consequently how Poland is portrayed?
Well, I think there's a disproportionate show of those images, but I think it's completely natural. It happens not only in Poland, it happens wherever these marches takes place. I just think that given the political situations and the other issues that has been going on in Poland, this gets even more enhanced and more attention and draw more negative attention to Poland, and I think that's the damaging part of it.
All right, and also, is this a right way of dealing with the nationalist groups? I mean, the European Parliament had passed a resolution, right?
They did indeed, and the whole problem is indeed how to control or how to make sure that these protests remain peaceful. And it was just a couple of weeks ago, in fact, wasn't there a resolution backed here in the European Parliament where over 300 MEPs called for a ban on these neo-fascist groups in light of course, back on the 22nd of July 2011 when Anders Breivik killed over 70 people in an island in Norway.
I mean, the question is that the right way to go about controlling it? So